And for the last one on the list, drumroll please, it is all about, hey everyone, it's Aisha and welcome back to my channel. 2020 was a crazy year, and I think one of the biggest eye-opening moments for a lot of people is that they realized that they had to find a way to make their money work harder for them. And when it comes to saving, there really is two major ways. It's either reducing your expenses or increasing your income. Given everything that happened this year, a lot of people were not given the opportunity to increase their income, so a lot of us had to focus on reducing our expenses. Because of that, I wanted to create a video based on that idea of reducing your expenses and finding ways to save money when you have a set amount of income or you're working with a low amount of income. This video is going to walk through 9 major ways that you can save money on low income, and we're going to focus on major lifestyle changes that can save you thousands to tens of thousands of dollars over the course of years. And as always, if you find this information helpful, please like this video as it helps not only how my video performs, but how my channel performs. Additionally, if you're interested in this kind of information, talking about saving money, personal finance, even like getting into alternative ways of investing your money and building businesses, especially through real estate, this is definitely the channel for you. But with all that being said, let's jump right into these 9 practical ways that you can save money on a fixed income. Number 1 is probably the most obvious, but it is the one that's going to make the biggest impact for you, and that is reducing your living expenses. Rent or mortgage is usually people's biggest expense when it comes to monthly expenses, and a general rule of thumb is that your rent or mortgage should not be more than 30 to 35% of the money you're bringing in. Because of that, to save a lot of money, you really want to get this percentage a lot lower than 30 to 35%. You really have to figure out what's best for you, especially during these uncertain times. So consider moving in with a roommate if you live by yourself currently, or maybe moving in with family or friends temporarily just to help you save the money that you need. If you're still looking to buy a place, then you should consider something called house hacking. And house hacking is something that I talk about a lot on my channel. The idea behind it is that you're buying a property that has more than one unit, which is considered a multi-family property. So a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex. What you do is buy that property, make it your primary residence, which means you live in one unit, but then you rent out the other units. The idea behind it is that the other units actually pay for your mortgage, plus give you some extra income. And while you do have some repairs and expenses and things like mortgage interest, property taxes, the idea that all of that is going to be paid for by your tenant's income. And a lot of those expenses you're actually able to deduct off your taxes because they're either considered a business expense for your rental properties, or since it's technically still your primary residence, you're able to reduce things like your mortgage interest. Number 2 is making sure that you're living below your means and only using credit when absolutely necessary. This is especially true when it comes to credit cards. If you have a credit card balance, those credit card companies will charge you exorbitant amount of interest, like 15 to 20% is usually the average. And that's really crazy if you think about it, because no matter how you have your money invested, it's really, really hard to get a 15 to 20% return to match the debt that you're accumulating. Just to put that in perspective, a high yield savings account, like a really, really good one, pays on average between 1 to 3%, and it's even less right now just because rates across the board are super low. So a high yield savings account now usually will get you less than 1%. And then even if you look at the stock market, between 1957 to 2018, returns on the stock market averaged just under 8%, which is great, but if you look at that credit card interest number, again, 15 to 20%, it just pales in comparison. Another rule of thumb is that you should be living off your base salary or income. If you do have a job where you work commission, you should really try to use the commission as extra income and not be based off of that, because that number can change a lot. This is also true if you get tips or if you have some sort of side hustle or business. You should really just try to live off the primary income and treat all that extra income as that just extra. This will make you look at your budget and really be more conservative, but you might find things that you're able to cut out or live without for temporarily in order for you to save money. Number 3 is super important, and it's one that's overlooked, but it can make such a big difference, and this is making a plan for your money. This is true for that base income we were talking about earlier, but also any extra income that you have coming in. You should have a plan where that money is going before it even touches your bank account. So that way you already know if you're using it to pay a bill, to pay off debt, or to put it in a savings account, and so when it hits, you don't feel tempted to use it on something that you don't need. You can even do a combination, 50% to savings, 50% for fun, or the other way around. You can do, 50% to having fun and 50% to paying off debt. Just make sure you have some sort of plan that you feel good about. Number 4 is food and grocery expenses, and this is another one that's hugely overlooked because people don't realize how much money they actually waste. The general idea of grocery shopping, of going into a store on a weekly or bi-weekly basis with a general idea of items you're going to pick up, is actually a super wasteful way. If you do have to use this method, or it's the one that you're most comfortable with, make sure you are making a list and make sure you're not doing any impulse buying and you're buying based on meals so that you won't have waste in your fridge. But even then, if that's the most comfortable for you, you should still consider other ways of shopping. You may find something that works even better for you. For example, COVID has really pushed to the forefront the idea of grocery pickup. It's been around for a really long time. I know a lot of stores have had this option, but it's just become more popular and it's forced stores to kind of streamline the process. A lot of stores also had fees that they associated with the grocery pickup before, and a lot of these fees have been waived because of 2020. Oh, 2020, literally the reason behind everything that's happening right now. So now that grocery pickup is free, it is a great alternative to going into a store. It's because you basically shop on your own time, you don't feel pressured, you can find everything that you want because you're ordering it ahead of time online. It also kind of eliminates those impulse buys because you're not in the store when you're hungry or distracted or in a rush, and you're not just like picking up random items. You're able to better stick to a plan. Another option that has really skyrocketed during the pandemic is the idea of affordable meal kits. There are a ton of options, but if you are looking for budget-based options, you should really look into Dinnerly and EveryPlate. By the time you take into account the amount of time and money you spend at the grocery store and all the waste that you pick up, either impulse buying or things that you buy that end up going in the trash, Dinnerly and EveryPlate can actually save you a lot of money. If you haven't tried a meal kit, maybe just try it. A lot of them have a lot of free trials on the first few boxes, and see if it's something that works for you. Okay, so now on to number 5, and it is entertainment expenses. I know, everyone is always talking about you should be eliminating drinking and going out with friends and spending money on reckless things and that Starbucks coffee and that avocado toast, blah, 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 blah. There are a lot of older generations that think younger generations spend way more money than we actually do on these kind of entertainment expenses. And while I really don't believe that's true, I think like we spend just as much as everyone else, / we've also been faced with different challenges than other generations. I do think there's areas that we can kind of look at and reevaluate and find healthy alternatives that still allow us to socialize and like have those little joys in our life. While it's been less common, especially with COVID, having a night out with your friends can easily rack up $100 to $200 when you really calculate everything. Between alcohol, either in the house or out of the house, food costs and Ubers, any type of transportation, parking, those things can really add up and make, a fun little outing into a pretty big dent on your bank account. Not to mention, you're also more likely in that state of mind to make more reckless purchases, like paying for drinks you don't need to, or buying food that you really don't have in your budget. However, it's still really important to socialize. It's just important to try to find healthy alternatives, and I think a lot of people have been exploring these options because of COVID, but these are things that you should really try to implement even as the world opens back up. These can be like game nights or dinner parties or having a movie marathon, anything that kind of allows you to still spend quality time with the people you love, but allowing you to save some money that you would spend out. However, there's some friend groups that really just like to go out and party and spend money. And if that's the case, it's fine to take a little break from that or to scale back in order for you to put more money back in your pocket. Maybe focus on friends that are more willing to spend more time with you indoors or do something more chill that doesn't require a lot of money. And it also may help you find new friends or get closer to friends that have similar interests to you. On to number 6, and again, it is something that's super overlooked but can save you so much money and is very much underestimated. And that is creating a network of services. And what I mean by that is for all the things that are happening in your life, whether it's for personal or for your own business, finding vendors that you can continue to return to over and over again to build loyalty and to help you save money. A personal example is that whenever I have issues with electronics, whether it be a laptop or my phone, I go to one specific vendor and they actually offer a loyalty discount, and I know that the quality of their work is very consistent. Big companies like the Apple Store provide convenience, and so you think you're saving time and money. But if you were to do the research and do a little extra digging, you can find vendors that provide high quality and consistency in their work, but then offer you better benefits in terms of loyalty and a long-term relationship. So every time I have an issue with my electronics, really the cost of repair is usually like half of what it would cost me at an Apple Store. So that was a personal example, but I also have a business example because I am involved in real estate. It was important for me in the beginning to find a network of people that I can continue to return to, especially in emergencies. It's really hard to save costs when you're in a situation where you just need something repaired fast. If you already have contacts in place, you already know the quality of the work you're going to get, and you also know that you will be getting the best price. I got involved in the community where I bought my first multifamily property, and due to a neighbor's recommendation, as well as doing some research in Facebook groups, I was able to find a semi-retired master plumber, and now he handles anything that regards plumbing in my home. His costs are literally half of what it would cost me for a plumbing company, and so if you can think about it, when it comes to multiple water heaters, piping issues, plumbing issues in general, I've saved a lot of money using him. This is also the same for general handyman work. I have a few people that I contact, and I know I'm getting a great price for the work. So again, that was a business example, but it's super important to find these connections even just for your own personal life. Look at the areas where you do have big expenses, and for a lot of people, this is really their home or their car. I found a local auto center about 5 miles away from where I live, and they focus on auto education for like teens and young adults. And because of that, the training program that they have, and because it's community-based, their services are usually 30 to 40% cheaper than a national chain. They provide general maintenance, so that includes oil changes, alignments, battery replacements, small repairs. And as you can see, all that stuff kind of adds up over time. And I found that the services are done a lot more thoughtfully, a lot more carefully, and a lot more honest than I found at other chains where they not only charge a higher price, but they treat you just like as a one and done. Come in, get your service, we charge you a high price, and you're out the door, and they don't really care about quality. So if you really apply this ideology into your life, it can help you save thousands of dollars over time. So I gave a few examples in terms of your home or your car, but also think of, other things like grocery needs and switching to a farmer's market, or maybe any other business expenses or general recurring expenses that you have in your life. It really will save you so much money in the long run. You will be amazed. So on to number 7, and that is having willpower when it comes to purchases. We live in a very fast-paced consumerist society where it's like, I want something now, I'm gonna order it, it'll show up the next day, and like, I may or may not use it, but because of the convenience, I now have it. It's important to get out of this mindset, because even small purchases like this, and it ends up being things you don't use, it just ends up being a waste of money, and those costs actually add up over time. A general rule of thumb, if you are someone that's pretty impulsive, is that you wait about 6 months to decide if you still want it. If you want it just as badly as you did 6 months ago, then go ahead and buy it. But if you don't, then consider just not buying it. This is really important to implement, especially when we have so much hype around these types of releases like video games, makeup, phones. So all those things are really meant to push you to buy something even if you don't really need it. And usually, as much as people say there's only going to be one release, there often is multiple releases, or there's a lot more stock than they let on. Newsflash, a lot of times when they say they have limited inventory, it is a ploy to get you to buy it, and they actually have more than they're telling you. So wait a couple months for one of those restocks. Chances are you might not even want it as much as you first did. There's a secret in here too. A lot of times, later releases, the product is a lot better in quality because they've had kind of a test run and they're able to improve on the product. And a lot of times it comes with a lower price tag. So for example, in October, we know that Apple released number of variants of the iPhone 12. These phones were at different price points and they all worked off of 5G. But the secret is, did you actually know that there is a 4G version coming in early 2021? So they will still be iPhone 12s, which means they come with these same features, except that they will be 4G, which is actually said to help conserve your battery life a little bit more than 5G. And they also have a price tag that is about $200 cheaper. So all I'm saying is that most of the time, it really does pay to wait. If you are someone that really doesn't want to give up on, some of those impulse buys, at least budget and create a small fund where you can pull money out for when you do feel like you want to splurge. That way you're not eating into the budget that you already have set up for saving money. You already have it taken into account and you have the money set aside. Okay, we're coming close to the end of the list. So number 8 is setting up automated bill pay and savings. You should automate a number that you are putting towards savings each month, and you should do it on the day that you are getting paid. That way you never really even see that money into your account and you're not really taking it into consideration when you're spending. That money is kind of out of sight, out of mind, already in savings, and it helps you build better saving habits. Automated bill pay also just helps you keep on track. I not only have automated bill pay, but I save in my phone recurring monthly payments so that I know what's coming out of each check, and I have a really easy way of looking at my phone and knowing how much money I'll have after all those payments until the next paycheck. This helps to make sure you don't forget. It saves you from any type of late fees, and a lot of companies, especially like if you think of loan companies, student loans, they offer a small discount if you set up automated payments. It really is a win-win. It really helps you just keep you on track better, and it saves you from making really small mistakes that, you don't want a late payment on your account that can really affect your credit. So it just saves you from any small mistakes becoming a major issue. And for the last one on the list, drumroll please, it is all about being proactive. Being reactive to everything that happens in your life just ends up costing you so much more money than if you would have addressed it ahead of time. What I mean by that is that if there's something that feels funny with your car, you should probably get it looked into. If you're having health issues, at least go and get checked as soon as you can to avoid any major medical expenses down the road. It may seem like some money out of pocket at first, especially if you're like, what if I go do this, there's nothing wrong with my car, or I go to the doctor and they say there's nothing wrong, but at the end of the day, it just saves you from the chance that something major can happen down the road. So for example, someone that I know put off a shaking that they had in their car. It ended up being a transmission issue, and they had to pay $4,000 out of pocket, which if they would have addressed it at the beginning, it probably would have cost about $2,000. On the other hand, being proactive with getting my crawl space fixed up in my multifamily property allowed me to, find a water leak that I didn't know existed, and I ended up saving potentially thousands of dollars by addressing it up front versus, letting it fester for a long amount of time, and it could have caused major issues to the structure and the foundation of my home. So really, I like to think of things evening out, and I know it's not always possible, whether time-wise or financially, to always be proactive when it comes to things, but when you can, just really consider doing it, because honestly, 9 times out of 10, it really does end up saving you a lot of money in the long run. So there you have it, 9 practical ways to save you money. Like I said, a lot of these are big lifestyle changes that you can start to implement. No, these aren't quick fixes. You can't just wave a magic wand, but these are things that are going to save you thousands to tens of thousands of dollars over the course of years if you implement them and really commit to them over time. So I know we've talked for a while, so with that, I will say thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you soon.